Alright, well hello there. Welcome back to the Sloppy Modeler, and if it's your first time to the channel, welcome to the show. We are very excited to have you here today. Alright, we have completed the Battlestar Galactica Viper Mark II, and that is sitting over there drying, and we'll have already produced the video for that. But our next step in our three fighter kit, we did the Cylon Raider, and we did the Viper Mark II from the new Battlestar Galactica program, and then this is the final piece of the fighters kit, the Viper Mark VII in 1/32nd scale from Mobius models. Very excited about this. You know, these packaging have always been absolutely dynamite. If you look at the back here, it says the Colonial Fleet Headquarters Viper Mark VII. Capable of atmospheric flight, the Viper Mark VII is the frontline variant of the Colonial Viper design, retaining the Mark II's general layout. This precision-tooled 1/32nd scale model is over 12 inches long and includes a pilot figure, display stand, and decals. Complete instructions are included, and I'm sure it'll be this clipped 45-degree angle on the instructions. Anxious to see that when I open it up. Paint and cement are required for assembly, which is sold separately. And of these kits, I've done the Galactica, I've done the Pegasus, I've done the Mark II, and this says it's from the sci-fi television series, and it should be 12.5 inches long when completed. 2018 is the timing on this one. So, not having opened this up before, we're going to open up the kit itself by way of introduction. And you know, the artwork really is quite astounding on this. And the one thing I noticed right out of the gate is this color is like a ghosted gray, ghosted blue. I'm just not sure what color I'm going to paint this. This is obviously blue across the top. This one is highly weathered, so you can see the weathering on all of the panel lines here. Definitely weathering on the front end, like maybe where these thrusters have been firing over the life of it. I do know this has 3 guns, one on each wing, and then one coming down the dorsal. So, skill level 3, we'll see what Mobius has in store for us. Of course, the traditional Mobius models stand for the Battlestar Galactica environment, and then just a single canopy. I'm already noticing that the canopy itself does not have panel lines on it, so this is just a single glass window, and we're over the top of that. Right out of the gate, we've got the actual Mobius model fuselage itself, and I'm not going to open these up, but I do know that when you put this together, you do have a pretty sizable seam that takes quite a bit of work through the bottom of that, and we'll put that to the side. And the rest of this is engines. There's 3 engines that go into this. There's some wing cowlings here. Here's the last engine, the center stabilizer, and this I assume is the interior, the pilot figure, landing gear is all included in that. As a matter of fact, before we go away, I'll be right back. This is my Mobius kit from probably 10 or 15 years ago, as a matter of fact. 10 years ago maybe, 2005, 2010, 2012. And it really appears that I'm looking at it now. I did a very rudimentary job of this. I don't think I ever completed it, actually. There are no decals on any of this. Pilot is painted brown and rust colors here. I do know that these pieces that go on the side of this are pretty dramatic, and the color I used for this, it looks like it was a platinum silver at the time. I didn't even paint in the thrusters at that point. Seam was not taken care of, just straight black on the landing gear. You've got the Mobius models piece there. I didn't even sand off this Universal Network Television LLC, and that one we'll take care of. Didn't paint in any of the thrusters back here, and the front is just a little bit of gray and silver there. So Hopefully we will have a much better attempt at this kit this time out. This, again, like I said, was the first time I did this, and I anticipate that I can do a much better job this time out. Gonna light the cockpit, gonna light, I think what I'll do is light this section here as one big light coming out of that piece right there. And then finally we'll light, of course, light the engines. And I think I'll do a beacon up here on this corner. And I think we'll be able to also do left and right station keeping lights. So that is our endeavor, but like I said, that was the original I did, as I said, probably 10 years ago. And I'm not sure why that's so incomplete, but that's the way it is. And we will go after this. Included in my build will be the Viper Mark VII Paragraphics Photo Etch Cockpit. And this is pretty extensive for a photo etch piece, as is traditional with Paragraphics. Those guys do a fantastic. This brass is super thick. This is a foldable cockpit. These are the pieces that would go over the engine pieces, I believe. Look at the detail in this cockpit here. Just all these lights are going to be lit up, additional pieces. So that is part of it. And with that will be the Mobius, these back panels. They're actually allow you to backlight them, and so that they're semi-transparent, but on thick paper stock or card stock of some sort. Interior pieces here for the instrument cluster. And like I said, you've got the engines, instrument cluster here, and some other details for the Daedalus, I think it's called. Card stock to keep it set. And then instruction set. Again, here's your fold-up section. And more fold-up, put all this together. Here's some pieces you would add on to the armrest. Armrests go in, the piece goes in, and then the engine inserts, how those go together. So that'll be interesting to see how all that lights up. Finally, in the back, you've got the pilot armrest, front cockpit heads-up display, and then how the cockpit goes in. So that will replace the traditional cockpit that's in this kit already. So, actually pretty excited about getting after this. Like I said, this is, you saw the other one there, and if we look at what this is going to be, it's going to be pretty much, hopefully, entirely different. And like I said, I do know that this one is closer to a blue than the bright white and kind of the bone or almond color that was on the first two that I did, and you can review those videos on my channel. If I can keep from damaging my model right out of the gate, we'll see what happens here. Ah, there we go. Don't know why that was covered, but it was. So like I said, this has a piece of glass that goes over the top, and that seam there, again, same thing. It's going to need quite a bit of work to pull that together. But very excited about getting this started. We will have a little fun with this one. It's the last in the Battlestar Galactica universe that I'm going to do for quite some time. Once this is done, hopefully it'll go together quick. We're back at it. It's almost, it's October the 28th, almost Halloween time. But for the most part, we're going to try to pull this together quickly, do my light blocking, do the cockpit, put the paragraphics together, and put this one to bed. So until we see you in the next run, thank you very much. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for coming along with me on this particular journey and on the last Viper Mark II. Like I said, I have done this model before, but it's been quite some time, and this was really something I might have done in just like probably a couple hours maybe. But this one I'm going to take a little more time and try to bring a much more professional version to it, or a much more lifelike version to this kind of kit. All right. Thank you for your subscriptions, your likes, and when we come back, we'll have the update number 1 for the Mobius models, Viper Mark VII. Thank you. Alright, hello. Welcome back to the Viper Mark VII from Mobius Models from the Battlestar Galactica Reimagining series. One of the things I noticed on my old model is that I never took off this Universal Network Television LLC, and so I have removed the interior supports to the top, but this was something I wanted to take care of very quickly. So, utilizing my chisel, I'm going to go along here on this section here and just do a quick scrape off the top of that. Oops. I have to come at this from the other side a little bit. And then once that is scraped, come back at it with a bit of a sand. You know, I used to sand on stuff for ages, and coming upon a flat chisel like that finally some time ago made a huge difference on how quickly you can get through certain areas, if you will. Just from a material handling standpoint, or removing raised portions that you don't want to have into your model, and just by utilizing something like that. Still have some fairly deep gouges, so for a gouge we'll go back after it with this. And the big key, you know, sanding is if you start with one grit and then move to another. At some point you're putting finer and finer sanding marks into your subject. And then once you're at a certain stage, again using finer and finer sanding grits, you can bring the model back into shape. So I use these nail files that have, I think, 7 different grits on them. Everything from shaping to polishing. So we're at buff nail and now shine nail. So last little zip across here. And now you can see we have removed that logo, and we're back to where that will receive primer quite nicely. It looks like I've got a little bit of a mold mark there, so I kind of want to do the same thing. Just take my chisel over that a little bit, and then back to my nails here. And again, once you get a coat of primer on here, leveling primer, you'll take, and then sand that primer, you'll take care of anything else that is possibly in your way there. Alright, so again, just doing some initial cleanup here on the Viper Mark VII. Just starting to pull some of the parts out of the bags. And I just use, I have a couple of different sets of these. This is Zuron, and it's got really sharp, really fine, precise blades for cutting. And going in, you can clip these pretty quickly. Here's the cockpit, and again, we've got the Paragraphics photo etch set for this, so we won't probably be using much of that. And then here are the engines and the engine cowlings. And the nippers here are doing a pretty bang up job, actually. Now, I do know that there is some photo etch that goes on to these, and that becomes very much a kind of a linking log kind of effect, where you want to bend that right into shape and get those to bend around those particular bends. Here's the main wings. Now this is pretty close, so I want to be careful there. Same with this, that's pretty close, so I just want to leave that a little proud so that I can trim that up with sandpaper and a scalpel knife. I don't want to go too deep, because then you leave divots that you have to fill with a putty. I'm not sure why that is the way it is that way, but it obviously goes together that way. So don't clip here on the big section. Clip there on that little section. And that's the top engine. Again, leaving that a little proud. And then here's the dorsal fin. And you want to be careful with that one. Same here. So as you can see, not a ton of parts for this model. Some. And only just the one clear part for the canopy. And I think these I'll wait to remove from the sprues until I have an opportunity to review what they are. Here's your figure. They did provide both a female and male chest piece and the arms, etc. So that's your figures. We can leave that for much later. Here's your interior seat. Here's some of those pieces I was talking about that go onto the engine. They're a little bit tough to manage. Here's your guns. Two guns for the side wings and one for the center top there. Some more shrouds, and it looks like this is some landing gear and landing gear there. And I'll wait to take those off the sprues as well. Here are those plastic pieces I was talking about that fit onto these engines, so it goes a little bit something like this, and piping and so forth to go into the motors. So liquid oxygen feeds or whatever their fuel is. That is how that goes. And here's a nice bulkhead. Not real happy with the bulkhead molding there. It looks to be fairly muddled. I'm not sure what's going on there, but maybe you can see it in this one. But there's definitely a different height, so maybe that's the way it's supposed to be. But and landing gear there. So we'll come back to that. We won't take all of that off right away. But this is just enough to get us started with cutting some wiring chases, figuring out where we're going to go, and then figure out where our center support is. I think I'll probably do the same thing. I'll probably fill this in and then drill another hole, maybe just a touch further back, like where that circle is right there. And once I drill that, then I can put a center post in there, and we can go from there. This appears, again, like I said, you do have a major set of seams that are going to go into this. They have done it along the panel lines, but it is there we go. Yeah, so once we've allowed that to splay out like that, you're really going to have to bring that in. There we go. You do have some locator pins, but like I said, this does not go together very well. You can see a major gap in there and along that line. So This is going to take some work, but what we want to do is make sure we've got any room for wiring chases. That's next. And then get some color blocking or light blocking inside here with some black paint. And we will then make some progress. But first of all, we've got to clean all these up where we just took them off the screws. And these are kind of in a little bit of an awkward position here, as you can see. And you want to be careful not to divot that out. And I assume that this piece probably fits right over the top of that, like so. It does. That's their top cowling, so that should be fine. All right, let me go to work on this, and we'll be back. Thanks. All right, hello, and continuing on with the Viper Mark VII from Battlestar Galactica, the reimagined series. Just bringing you quickly up to speed of what we've got in play at the moment and what the next steps are. Here is the Paragraphics assembled, bent into shape and assembled photo etch kit for the interior cockpit. And so a couple of things that you want to be careful of. Number one, I folded this little tab, this round tab, up rather than folding at the bend in the back there. So I had to unbend that, and it gave me kind of a groove there, but I think that's going to be all right. Bend all this up using super glue to do the seams, and then I went ahead and painted this with my Styrolene's metal primer. And I primed all of the rest of the pieces that will be glued on later, and I primed in the two armrests, and these kind of fit in something like this. Always fumbling. So they fit in something like that, and when they go in, then you put some of these additional parts on top of the armrest and on top of this piece here. In addition to that, here on the inside, you have this sheet of backlight films, and basically this is designed so you can see through them real easily, and they transmit light and look like they're backlit. If you're not going to like this model, these are still worth doing. They look fantastic with the colors, and it's a little bit beyond the decal set, frankly. And not a lot to this. This has got 3 engine panels that will give you a translucent look to your panels. Here are 2 front heads-up displays. Here's the actual heads-up dreidellus, and then just some more stuff that would go on some of the gauges inside of this area here. So a couple of cool things. For one, I'm not exactly sure. It looks like there's one that goes over that, so I think that is going to look something like this, maybe. There we go. And so it's going to be kind of a precise kind of deal to figure this out, how you would put this together, but we'll get there. So went ahead and painted all that up again with my Styrolene's Metallizer primer. Now I'm going to go back into the paint shop booth, or paint booth, and I'm going to respray these with chrome silver, because I think that's going to be a nice contrast to this dull gray here. So that's the next step, is to respray a few of these pieces here. But to do that, because I don't want to have a gold speck on these after we're done spraying, what I'm going to do now is take this off of the fret using my chisel here. And I do like that chisel, I can get right to the area without having to deburr that, because that just gives me a clean look right out of the gate. I don't have burrs on them. The chisel does the best job yet that I've seen. That's just a standard chisel blade, come in at an angle, and you're off and running. So once you've got that, I've taken my little board here, and then I'm just going to stick that directly onto my tape there that I've put down, so that it doesn't fly away when I'm actually trying to spray that with an air compressor. So again, that leaves virtually no burrs whatsoever when you take it off that way. Tack it down, and you're ready to spray the next. So, like I said, using this chisel tool, I know a lot of guys do this on glass, especially because they don't want to bend up their particular item. And sometimes just using a little bit of surface tension, you can move this around. Some guys use a wax pen to move their parts once they're in place. And now this is very interesting. So I'm not sure on this part 14. It looks like it's got an additional piece coming off of it. So I want to be careful how I trim that. And when I look at part 14, this doesn't look to alright, did I miss it? 12, 10, 12, 1, 11, F, G, H, that's your stickers 1. And down here, same thing. Not seeing that part number. So, I'm not sure what part number 14 is, but I'm going to be very careful about pulling that one off. But I think you're starting to get the idea of how this goes. So I'm going to trim the rest of these off, put them on here, and go spray that with chrome silver from Tamiya. So I will be back. Thank you. Okay, moving forward with Viper Mark VII. Working on the interior lighting here. And one of the very first challenges is part number 33. Part number 33 out of the instruction book. I have it here somewhere. Part number 33. Wrong side. Okay. Moving forward with the lighting on the Viper Mark VII. And we've been through a lot of the photo etch and things like that, but we've come to a challenge with part number 33, which fits over the top of this piece right here. It actually goes across there, and so typically what you're going to see is that it's got a heads-up display. It's got a heads-up display that looks like that, and you know, you could just put it in there without lighting it up, but essentially this part number 33, you trim off the bottom of it, and then you add it to the top of that shelf. So what I've done is I already painted it dark gray on the back, which is kind of be the top, bit of the top exposed. And just a quick reference here. This is kind of what you're going to see there. I'm not going to move this because I've got it ready to glue down. Now, this is only 100 and something ohm resistor on 5-volt system, 120 ohms. I'm going to go all the way up to probably 420, maybe even a 1K resistor, because this is way too bright in there. But I want to use this size bulb, and what my next step is to glue that down. But in order to do so, I'm I'm going to use kind of a different process. So I've got my tweezers here, and these are kind of reverse tweezers. This is so small that I think what I can do is just let that sit in there, and just use the tweezers as a clamp, maybe. So what I'm trying to do is make sure I've got that centered in the workspace, and then I'll take my tweezers here and essentially just clamp that down, just like that. Now, so the next step is to actually use my ultra glue for photo etch and clear parts. It's acrylic and it dries crystal clear, and it dries typically without too much and it dries without too much glue residue, if you will. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this in right over the top of all of that. Like so. And then I'm going to take my piece that I had, which kind of disappeared, and I'm just going to lay that over the top of that glue and let all of that dry up. And when that dries, it will no longer be conductive. And what will happen is that it will give us, hopefully, the look I'm going for, which is the ability to see that. And I just want to, yeah, we're pretty close. And of course, you got a decent amount of time to work with this. Maybe. And again, I'm just trying to set that into the glue so that it will stay and kind of be ensconced in there. And I think what's happening is I'm getting too much pressure on it. So let me work on this off camera, because I think I can work on it a little better that way. And hopefully when I come back, this will be glued up and clamped up and ready to go. So I'll be back in a minute. Alright, so I've got it, I actually went down to a smaller SMD. I had an 0825 and I actually went down to like an 0625 and then filled my glue in, and then now what I've done is I've added my top piece. And I think you can see how nicely that fits right over the top of that. It's square, and that just needs to sit. So I'm going to set that aside for right now and not play with it anymore. The other thing, or the next step, is to add some LEDs behind the cockpit in here. And I'm really pleased with the way most of this looks. If you light it up from the back, you can really see that there's some decent lighting in all of that. And the key is I think I'm going to need to use two lights. Oh, sorry about the camera. And what I've got is need another resistor here. This is a Lighthouse LED. It's 50 by 1.5 or 1.8 millimeter, 2 millimeter round top, cool clear white LED that's ultra bright. And basically what I'm going to do here is just do a quick sample. And by setting that in there, that is a significant amount of light in there. And I think that looks really great. Now, one problem is that I'm really not lighting up this keyboard light right in here with that. So that's just one LED that's fitting in there. Now that's much better. So I think if I put that something like that, I'm going to have really enough light for that whole area there. So I think you can see that. Pull that out and it just goes back. But man, I'll tell you, that is just dynamite when it's all lit up inside of that. So I've got to do some wiring. I got to do some soldering. That's got to glue up or set up, and then that's that piece. And then the only other piece that's really could benefit from lighting up is there's one right in there on the side, and a bit of lights on that side there. So the challenge is inside of the fuselage. I think that that's pretty tight, but I think I've got enough room. I believe that sits in like so. Something like this. Actually, I think let's go this direction here. So yeah, you can see you've got plenty of room on those sides, but I might add one SMD on each side of that just to light that area up. And then there's your canopy inside of that. So I think I've got enough room to light that up, and it shouldn't give me too much problem with light bleed in there. But that cockpit is going to look dynamite. And like I said, at the last piece will be that shelf that goes over the top of this. The armrest will go in at some stage too, but for right now, that's what I have to light up too, is these armrests. So still working on the lighting for this, but I think you can see that just adding lighting to this cockpit, you change the whole look, feel, and appearance of the interior. And really that's what the kit is for. So that is underway for the photo etch kit. The other thing that I did is in the engines, you can see here that what you're asked to do is remove this piece here out of it. So I just took my nippers and just clipped them out and cleaned that out. You'll never see that hardly, but what happens is that this piece here will fit down into it like so. I guess like this, more to the point. So I'll have to glue that in like that so it sits far enough back. Something like that. Maybe it's this way. Yeah, so that'll fit in like that, and I'll glue that in, and then I'll have a light behind that. There'll be a light bulb behind it in here. But with those two locator pins where they were, you really don't have a lot of room to work with in there. So what I did is I took the two locator pins out and left one, and then this seam does go together really nice. It seems like that's going to look really good. It's not going to wander all over you. So so once I get this light blocked, which is 2 coats of black, and then a coat of bright white inside of there, and then glue this piece in, which is the photo etch piece that's been painted by metallizer, and then the diffuser behind it. And I think just like on the other one, I'm going to have to add one more piece of just real thin polystyrene sheet behind that to give even a little more diffused light. And then that'll, like I said, that'll glue in like that, and that'll give me a really nice engine look from the back. So that is the other progress made on this. And there's 3 engines in total, so there's one, and then you've got the other 2 are very similar with the way that those go together. These press together like so, and then finally this one comes down on top to give you your engine set. So I also cut in my wiring chases here, here, and here, so I can actually come through and wire all those together. Once they're wired up, then I can feed that into the back of the fuselage, and that should be fairly easy to do. I am still considering, and I think I'm going to do it just for ease of wiring access, I might not use that section there. Instead, what I think I might do is where this comes together here is virtually a solid construction. So what I'm going to do is I think just drill through here and then drill through that where it connects. And I want to show you that because I think it's a better way of doing it, because you can connect all of those then in one place. This comes down, that's there. So what I am going to do is drill through that section right there, and by drilling through there I can run the wires internal, because this is a tight fit into the fuselage, and this backs up against the backing plate of the upper section, so you can't really go, you have to go through there. And what's going to happen is that you have to have it all wired, then feed it, and then wire it again. My intent is to wire this through to one of these. Now that I'm doing this, wire this through to one of these, and I might even go through here, and then I'll just have one set of wires coming out of here with 3 flickering blues, which I've got here. These are 3mm flickering blues, and I think they'll look really good in all of those, and there's enough room now to do that. So that is, sorry for the long update, but that is just figuring out some of the lighting in this. Let me keep working at this, and I'll be back. Thanks. Alright, hey, welcome back to the Battlestar Galactica Viper Mark VII, and we're walking through the lighting. I think is probably the most progress that we've made here shortly, or most recently. So the cockpit is what I would say is lit. I had to add a light here on the side to light up that side piece. This looks really good. That looks fantastic, and I'm really pleased with both the overhead and on the front cockpit console. I think that just looks fantastic. I am going to take and fill this area here because it just leaves a blank spot. I'm not sure why, but it just does. So I'm going to fill that, and I'm not sure how yet. Maybe with some putty, or maybe with some styrene, something that will fit in there and block that off. Because I just think it just leaves an opening in the cockpit that you can see when it's in. You can see it in this area right here. So not super pleased with that, how that comes together. But that is what we're going to work with. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to take a second here, and I'm not going to tack it in, but we're going to just place it in where this goes. And it fits right up against that pin there in the front, and then tacks down. And once you're in, what I've got is this 2 little areas, and maybe you can see it in the camera here, these 2 little areas right there that need to be filled in some way. And I might just do that with some microcrystal clear after I've got this cemented in. Just do a little fill and then paint over that microcrystal clear with some of the same color as this. But when you get the canopy on this, it looks absolutely really dynamite. So that is the interior of the Viper Mark VII. And if I've got a second here, I think I can light this up inside and show you how really that is going to look fantastic inside of there. It just really, between the metallizer primer and the colors I chose, and then the chrome silver on the button accents, I really like that look. It looks clean, it looks professional, it looks like it's ready to go. I might use just a black wash or a dry brush on some of the buttons just to make that detail pop a little bit, and I think I'm going to do that. But that's very pleasing to me how that cockpit has turned out. So that is now completely lit and ready to glue in, and then we can finish it up. One thing I did do is I used 2 coats of black paint and then a coat of silver on the inside of it, and still I'll have a couple of spots on this that I'm hoping that the primer and then the subsequent paint will cover in the long run. Otherwise, I'm going to be out of luck on a couple of items. So that's the cockpit. For the engines, that's the next stage. And what I've done for the engines is same thing, 2 coats of black paint and then a coat of silver, and then I just dry brushed flat black over the exhaust on the on the inside to kind of give it more of a carbonized look. And then each one of these has a flickering blue 5mm light, and then inside of that, the next step is to paste in my external piece here. That's going to go something like this. And I'll do this with probably a CA glue, but that'll go in something like that. And once that's in, then I can then put the cap over the top of it. I'm not sure if this is the right one or not. It is, and you can see that. And before we go any further, I'm going to try to quickly strip these 2 wires. And see if we can't light that up for the first time. Well, there you go. We've got a flickering light, and I am very pleased with that. I do have to move that, and again, I think I need to put a diffuser over that certain area right there, because it again is giving me just a hot spot in real life. So, but I like the flicker. I like the blue on the black there. Very pleased with that. I just need to move inside. Yeah, so what I'm trying to do is aim that. I like that pretty good. And I think, again, what will help is to put either like a diffuser, like a piece of paper, in over that. See, that already is a big plus. I like that look a lot, so it'll take that hot spot. So if I just had, you know, just 2 folds of paper here going behind that, and it completely changes the color, look, and dynamic, yet I'm still getting my flickering blue. So what I need to do is glue that in and cut that in and make that happen. But, of course, from the lighting standpoint, I've done that for all 3 of the engines, and then these have been prepared to go over the top of them. So that is blue flickering 5mm in there. On the outside, I simply painted these with Martha Stewart's gunmetal, and then the inside again is just black airbrushed. So when those go together, which will be something like so, you'll see this, and then we'll epoxy those together, do the seams, and include that. And then that fits as we've been looking. Excuse me. That fits as we've been looking at it together with the other two engines. And we'll close this one up yet. From this standpoint, this will go into here. So one of the things that I'm doing with this kit is that I am going to have all of the wiring done internal to the engines, and only have one set of wires coming out of the back. So I've already done this to where, and actually that's incorrect. So this will feed, let me pull this again. Sorry, fumbling here a bit. I actually have this so it feeds in like so. This one also feeds in like so. Now, then the next step is to feed those wires into this one here. I'm sorry, that's what happens when you design something and then walk away from it for a bit and come back to it. I'm going to leave this out here. Alright, got my bearings now, I apologize. Alright, so that's going to go that way. These are going to feed in through the base of the other engine. Something like this. And then this is going to feed into bottom of the engine there. Okay, so now what we've got is a tangle of wires, but what we're really working towards is being able to close that up like that. And then I can run the third engine down through the top, like so. And that will fit in like this. Fantastic. Alright, so now that's in, I can wire all of those to one wire. I can combine all the reds, I combine all the hots, and then run one set of hot and colds out the back or towards the front of the ship, which will mate up with my other items there. And then once those are in, then I can simply cap off these, this one here I'm already ready to cap off. And these are left and right, so you want to make sure you don't get them mixed. So there's that. And now I'm going to wire these together, solder them up. Once those are soldered up, cleaned up, then we can put that cap on. And now we've got a working set of engines that have a nice look to them. So let me keep working on that, and when I get back, we'll have those wired and ready to prime. Thanks. All right, hey, thanks for coming along with us on this first update to the Viper Colonial Mark VII. It's been a really fun start to this build, and looking forward to our progress on the lighting and progress on then the paint. And that's what I'm really most excited about, is how to get this painted up to look like our image here with the Viper and the faded blue, ghost blue, whatever you want to call it, and all of the weathering that it's got. So that's kind of the next step. Do appreciate your subscriptions and your shares and likes and comments. This is, like I said, a very fun build, and it really goes together very well. So if you've got one of these hanging around in your stash, I would really encourage you to go out and tackle it, because it's really not that difficult at all to get after it. So until then, this is the Sloppy Modeler. Looking forward to seeing you in update number 2. And until then, thank you very much. Bye.